not right. They should have more protection here for people here. It's not fair. Sorry to say that.
An apartment building with a troubled past is the scene of the first murder of 2019. The victim, 36-year-old Ian Dyer, didn't live there. He was visiting friends, but police say he was alone in an apartment on the 12th floor when he was stabbed to death. Good evening, I'm Marivelle Tarouk. Police are on the hunt for suspects in that homicide. A murder weapon is yet to be found and a suspect description yet to be released.
There's video in the lobby and the elevators, and that's what we're focusing on. We've talked to the people who were in that apartment with the deceased prior to his death, and we're following up some information they've provided.
Information, they say, that has helped them build a timeline. Police believe the stabbing took place between 11:30 and 12 last night. There was no sign of forced entry, but a German Shepherd slipped out of the unit sometime during the fatal encounter and wandered to another floor. Police are asking people who may have seen that dog to come forward.
Maybe they could help us figure out how it got down to the other floor. That might be some indication of where people went after this occurred.
The apartment is a Toronto community housing building. For the next 72 hours, police will ramp up their presence there. But as Kelda Yoon reports, violence and threats are nothing new to residents of 40 Gordon Ridge Place.
I'm not happy here and I don't feel safe here at all.
Barbara Wilkinson has lived in this apartment building for 6 years. It's one of 3 buildings in the Gordon Ridge complex, all owned by Toronto Community Housing. She said a few months ago someone left a message on her door threatening her life.
I told the housing about it and they pretty well said, oh, well, maybe someone had a bad day when they wrote that on my door. And I said, you got to be kidding, a bad day?
She's not the only one who's frustrated.
We asked them about getting us the security who would get up their butt and start walking around here.
This is the second murder to happen here in less than 9 months. Just this past April, a 23-year-old man was fatally stabbed inside the same apartment building.
When I woke up this morning, I go, what the heck? Not again.
Toronto police say they are well aware of the building's problems.
The information we're getting is that the building in that particular floor had a heavy drug activity.
Residents say they would like to see around-the-clock surveillance. Toronto Community Housing tells CBC the complex is patrolled by officers from their community safety unit who completed 372 patrols last year. It says it is now reviewing the need for third-party security following this latest murder. Toronto Mayor John Tory said help is on the way.
We approved Toronto Community Housing hiring more than 100 special constables, and they are going to be targeted to provide for better safety in some of the buildings.
Toronto Community Housing confirms all 3 Gordon Ridge buildings have been identified as a priority for 2019. Tory says he expects the special constables to be deployed sometime in the coming months.
We're acting as quickly as we possibly can.
Though for some residents, that might not be soon enough.
It's always in my mind is that I want to get out of here. I want to get out of here, but how do I get out of here when the rents are so high out there?
I'm ready to move out of here because they don't do nothing.
Mayor Tory also said the city has asked the province to change legislation to prevent those involved in drug and other criminal activity from being allowed back into TCH buildings if they've been evicted in the past. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
As you just saw, the day began with one homicide and it nearly ended with another. 2 men were shot in broad daylight at Woodbine and Kingston Road in the Beaches neighborhood. They survived the attack, but the size of the crime scene quickly grew as the chase between the victims and suspects unfolded. Adrian Chung has the details.
Confusion and chaos, with gunshots ringing out in the middle of the day. 2 victims staggering into a shop to call for help after being shot multiple times. They'd survived with non-life-threatening injuries, but a normally quiet residential neighborhood is shaken.
You can feel very safe, but to take a walk here today and see what's happened, it's really quite disturbing.
Police say the 2 men were shot at Woodbine and Kingston Road while sitting in a car. injured, they drove towards Queen Street East. The suspects sped after them, smashing into other cars and witnesses.
They came zooming through the light, and I was going, what the hell are these guys doing? What are they trying to do?
This witness says the suspects rampaged through the intersection.
It looks like they just kind of drove right onto the side. 4 or 5 guys just jumped out of the car and ran away. And within 20 seconds, we could see another police car speeding down and around the corner, and they then went off chasing these guys. It wasn't until we realized that the one guy had gone chasing that these guys might have had guns.
Police have arrested 2 suspects. They also found 3 guns hidden and tossed away during the police chase.
And are now commencing to collect evidence and process the scene east and west of Queen Street. And it's just the size that obviously presents the challenge.
After a year marked by a record number of homicides, city councillors are calling for major changes in the safety of the city.
We do need to work together as a community. We need to work with Toronto Police Services and as a city, and frankly all 3 levels of government, because it has been a rough 2018 and a rough start to 2019.
Police are not ruling out that there could be more suspects, and some Toronto residents now feeling numb from the violence.
I don't complain now, I just say that it's sad.
Adrian Chung, CBC News, Toronto.
Police divers are expected to start searching a lake southwest of Ottawa tomorrow for a person they believe died after the vehicle they were in went through the ice. Emergency services were called to Mississippi Lake around 3:45 this morning after a man reported his car went under the water. But what they found were 2 vehicles that had gone through the ice just meters apart. CBC's Kimberly Molina has the details.
Orange pylons can be seen dotting the area where a large ATV is poking through the ice. But just meters away, a second set of pylons mark the spot a Volkswagen car went under. Police say a man from the car made it to shore suffering from hypothermia. But a second person in the vehicle didn't make it out. Paramedics were called, who then alerted police. Constable David Bird says officers went out onto the lake and first stumbled upon the partially submerged ATV with its lights still on.
They couldn't find anybody about, so they start checking for people's safety. And then they found another vehicle submerged in the ice, which it transpires was the subject of the original call.
Bird says the 3 people in the ATV suffered only minor injuries. He confirms the 2 incidents are unrelated. Neighbors in the area tell me that they're seeing way too much traffic on this lake for the ice thickness that is out here.
There was 18 trucks out here yesterday. 18 trucks and around about a dozen shacks. They're crazy.
Why are they crazy?
Well, there's no ice. There's no ice. It's only about 8 inches of ice, and it's not even good ice.
The ice huts are just a couple hundred meters away from where the vehicles went under. Others who live in the area say strong currents make the ice around where the vehicles went in especially unstable.
This happens every couple of years. Somebody goes through the ice. Nobody is usually hurt, though.
It's a very tragic thing. It's very, very sad. But again, like you don't want to take a car out there. You don't want to take a truck out. Like these guys that you see towing those huts, they're checking it because otherwise, I hope they're checking it.
Police say divers will be searching the car and the area around it for the person's body tomorrow. Kimberly Molina, CBC News, Ottawa.
She came so close, serving upset after upset to some of the best tennis players in the world. But last night, Bianca Andreescu fell in the finals of the ASB Classic. We caught up with her today via Skype.
I was 1 game away from winning the match. I always try to stay in the present moment, but at that point, subconsciously, thoughts are just popping in my head. And in the 3rd set, I think I was just mentally and physically tired. I didn't have the fire in me that I did in my last couple matches and in the 1st set. But that's the way life goes.
The Mississauga teen beat world number 3 Caroline Wozniacki and tennis royalty Venus Williams on her way to the semifinals. There, she cruised past Taiwan's Xie Sui, but then the magic ran out. She fell to Julia Gerges of Germany. A whirlwind few days for the hometown team, to say the least.
Everything was honestly a dream. but probably the victory against Venus got to me. I was in awe for like 2 hours after that. That night, I really couldn't sleep. My adrenaline rush was like about here.
Next up is the Australian Open, perhaps a tougher challenge now that her talent is out of the bag.
I think the girls that she's going to compete are going to be preparing pretty well, you know, because they're going to expect that she's playing at pretty high level. And I think when you're winning so many matches, you know, you arrive pretty confident.
Andreescu entered the tournament ranked number 152 in the world. Congrats to her. All right, let's check in with Safia Kambalia for the weather forecast. Boy, what a difference a day makes. It's certainly chillier today, I felt.
Yeah, just wait for back to work Monday. For many that are returning after maybe a 2-week holiday, Mother Nature isn't too happy about the start of work either. Special weather statement is out for a mix of messy, active weather for your day back to work on Monday. Bottom line is you're going to end up with kind of a dusting to a few centimeters of snow, but the snow isn't really the big part of the story here. There's a few different systems that are kind of battling for supremacy. We're within the warm sector around the GTA, so we're going to get the changeover, the interruptions of all these different precipitation types throughout the day as these systems kind of clear out of Ontario. Let's break down the timing for you because it's going to impact maybe not the morning commute, but probably the evening commute for all of you trying to get back home quick. Midday, quick shot of snow followed by a little bit of freezing rain. That's the lighter round of precipitation. You'll have a little bit of a break in the afternoon hours, and then kind of the whole kit and caboodle comes in with a real messy mix during the evening commute. Another quick shot of snow, ice pellets, freezing rain. We're not expecting a lot of ice buildup on power lines or trees because temperatures will be increasing and you will have a ton of rain into the evening in the overnight hours to wash most of it away. Now we'll talk about how temperatures are going to be sitting mild and pretty for Tuesday, but how it won't last long. Another shot of snow potentially for midweek.
Okay, we'll check in with you in a bit. Thanks, Safia. A man is facing charges in the deaths of 5 girls who died in an escape room in Poland. And that's raising safety concerns about the activity around the world. Details after the break. The designer of an escape room in Poland has been charged in the deaths of 5 teenage girls and with intentionally creating a fire danger. Today, a Polish town held a vigil for the girls who were all just 15 years old. A makeshift memorial is taking shape outside the escape room. Authorities think a faulty gas heating system may have caused Friday's fire. Now, escape rooms have become pretty popular over the past several years for events like birthday parties and team building. But the death of those 5 teens is raising questions about safety in Canada. CBC's Talia Ricci reports.
Just remember, please play safe, play smart, no dangerous horseplay inside.
Escape rooms create the illusion of being trapped or locked in. But it was all too real for those teenage girls in Poland.
This is something that should never have happened. It's very upsetting. And hopefully this will make owners in North America examine their safety systems a little better.
I'm gonna have to check on this. I'll be right back.
Escape rooms have exploded in popularity over the last few years, with hundreds popping up across Canada. The player's mission? To solve puzzles, often while fending off eerie foes. Sean Fishstein runs a large escape room and says part of his mission is to push for more regulations.
We can see where every customer is, and if a customer is not where they should be, we're on it within seconds.
But not everyone is so safety conscious.
What we don't necessarily see is people going above and beyond to ensure an extra layer of safety.
In many escape rooms across Canada, there's usually a setup something like this, where game masters will monitor the players through closed-circuit cameras so that they can offer the players clues, but also ensure that they're staying safe. Serious designers don't cut corners.
When I'm designing escape rooms, I try to ensure that everything that goes into the game will be safe for the players. So no flammable items, no dangerous items, no sharp items. I try to keep everything fairly low tech.
Andrew Parr has designed games for hundreds of escape rooms across the world and says one important thing has changed during the industry's growth spurt.
When I first played a few escape rooms about 2015, I was locked in and we had to find a key to get out of the room. And it wasn't long after that, just a few months, early, mid 2015, I noticed that all games had the rooms unlocked.
If you're game to play, there are some crucial questions you should ask.
Is it locked, and is there another way out that's not locked? Are there multiple exits to the building if the building is over a certain size? Never engage in an activity where you're physically restrained, handcuffed, or bound to an object or a prop, or blindfolded.
He says as someone who's escaped rooms around the globe, Canada's are among the safest. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Donald Trump is digging in his heels as the U.S. enters a 3rd week of partial government shutdown. The president says he won't give up his demands for border wall funding. Trump stopped to speak to reporters on his way to Camp David this morning.
Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and myself can solve this in 20 minutes if they want to. If they don't want to, it's going to go on for a long time. I will tell you this, if we don't find a solution, it's going to go on for a long time. There's not going to be any bend right here.
More talks took place this afternoon between the White House and congressional Democrats, but they did not resolve the impasse. Jagmeet Singh is buckling in for a political race that could end his political career. The federal NDP leader is campaigning ahead of a by-election in BC that'll likely happen next month. Many were expecting that by-election and 2 others to be called today, yet there's been nothing but silence from Ottawa. As the CBC's Tanya Fletcher reports, an NDP loss in Burnaby South may be enough to strip Singh of his title as party leader.
Jagmeet Singh had hoped today would be the official launch of his campaign. No such luck.
It looks like Trudeau is again delaying calling by-elections here in Burnaby South and for the hundreds of thousands of Canadians who are going to continue to not have representation.
For some, Singh's response is simply deflection from a leader growing desperate.
I think there is quite a lot of pressure on him to be able to win in this by-election.
A lot of pressure because 2018 was a tough year for the party. At least 9 of 41 sitting MPs say they won't run again. And then there's the fundraising slump. While the Conservatives and Liberals took in record amounts in the fall, the NDP did its worst yet under Singh. And until he wins his seat, he doesn't have a voice in the House of Commons, a stark contrast to his predecessor.
The Prime Minister keeps referring us back to the whitewashed report of the Senate.
You want to be in a position where you can be jousting in the House of Commons, where you can be, on the national news every night because you're part of the narrative in Ottawa, as opposed to somebody trying to rebuild the party or rebuild the party under their image from outside.
He's also an outsider in the riding he's fighting to represent.
NDP! NDP!
Born in Ontario, he only recently moved to Burnaby, but the NDP says it's beat those odds before.
And Tommy Douglas is, of course, somebody who resonates with people throughout Burnaby, somebody who is from back east, but chose to run in Burnaby as the national leader of the NDP. I think there's a tradition there as well that people respond very positively to.
If Singh loses, though, the implications are staggering for his party and his career.
It just won't be that he didn't win this by-election or he does win the by-election. It's a further test of a leader to just be able to get them ready for an election, which everyone knows is coming.
At today's rally, a chalkboard filled with slogans like "History in the Making" and "We Got This," all signs pointing towards a confident candidate who has everything to lose. Tanya Fletcher, CBC News, Burnaby.
Tonight is Christmas Eve for Orthodox Christians. In the Holy Land, the Patriarch of the Greek Church led a procession to Bethlehem's Church of the Nativity. The procession was confronted by protesters angered at the church's controversial sale of land rights in East Jerusalem.
Where's the screwdriver? Where's the air? To loosen it. Screwdriver.
Even before winter semester classes have begun at the University of Ontario Institute of Technology, these engineering students are hard at work. We'll tell you what they're building after the break. Every detail must be calculated to the millimeter, each team playing against the clock. Over the course of the weekend, these students from the University of Ontario's Institute of Technology built a robot from scratch.
It will be built tomorrow. There is no choice. It will be done. From an educational standpoint, it's teaching the whole design process in a very practical, and you look around us, in a very fun way.
From precise measurements to quick thinking to teamwork, their skills were put to the test. The challenge is inspired by the FIRST robotics competition. That's where thousands of high school teams make a robot in 6 weeks, a luxury for these 40 university students who have to do it in just 3 days.
I wanted to inspire other people. I wanted to share my passion and what I got out of FIRST with other people. So here we've got 60% of us are FIRST alumni, the other 40% are brand new to this, and I really wanted to just give them a chance to try this out or machine something or see what an actual engineering design process is like.
Once completed, the robots will be shown to high school students to motivate them to build their own. Checking in once again with Safia for the weather forecast, which sounds so messy, actually.
It's a perfect way to describe it. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. Look at what we have to look forward to Tuesday. Fairly dry, really mild, more of the same for much of Monday before the temperatures come crashing back down to cold to end off the rest of the work week. First, though, we have to get through, as you said, the messy Monday. Widespread special weather statement, mostly for snow, kind of north of Barrie. 401's that dividing line for those of you in the North GTA that might actually see a few more centimeters. And then in the south and around the Golden Horseshoe, it's just a messy mix of slick kind of precipitation interruptions. Okay, let's talk about the freezing rain risk. This isn't everybody who is going to see it. This is where you have a higher chance of seeing it, especially some of the areas of higher elevation, especially that Highway 6 to Highway 8 stretch. Bottom line here is untreated roads, sidewalks and parking lots could be a little bit slick. So watch out for that. You know that the roadways don't need a lot of precipitation to become a bit of a standstill. 2 rounds of precipitation, 1 midday, the lighter round, a quick shot of snow, a little bit of freezing rain and maybe some freezing drizzle. And then you get a break for the afternoon hours before all the messy, hairy stuff comes in. Perfectly timed for the evening commute. Another quick shot of snow, ice pellets, some freezing rain. The good thing is most of it will all get washed away by the rain that will continue later into the dinner hour, evening hours, and overnight hours. When it's all said and done, we'll end up with a couple centimeters of snow here and there. And then again, this will be the story for midweek, after kind of a mild day Tuesday to lull us into a false sense of security before we go down to below seasonal conditions to end off the work week. Hey, enjoy Tuesday though, and pack your patience for Monday, and maybe be a little bit longer on the commute home from work.
Best advice. Thanks, Safia.
No problem.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching. Stay caught up on news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. Good night, everyone.